Marriage was created by God to bless you and make you happy right after it kills you. Okay. Marriage is designed to kill you, to kill self. I heard someone say one time, I've got some really bad news, and that is the two most powerful beings in the universe are both trying to kill you, Satan and God, and it's the truth. Satan's trying to kill you through all kinds of evil, but God's trying to kill you through marriage. As soon as you die, you'll have a wonderful marriage. And what has to die is that selfish spirit. It's all about you. It's all about you. If your needs are getting met, everything's fine. If your needs aren't getting met, nothing's fine. But you don't measure fine by your spouse. See, here's what I tell people in marriage. You're successful when your spouse tells you are, but you're not successful until then. A lot of people say, well, I'm a good husband. I don't know what her problem is. I'm a good husband. You're not a good husband until she says it. You know what? How pathetic is that, going around saying, I'm a good husband? One of the biggest fights that Karen and I ever got in, we were riding in the car. We had been to a mall or something, and we just, one of those stupid things that sparked a really bad fight. And I remember being in the car, humble person that I am, and I remember being in the car, and I was yelling at Karen, and I said, I'm a good husband. I'm a good husband. And I remember her looking at me like, oh, how pathetic is this? And when I look back on it, I was so defensive. I was so insensitive. And the reason that we were fighting is because of insensitivity. Selfishness is just, it's all about me. It's all about my rules. It's all about what I want. It's not about you. I don't want to have to be sensitive to you. I don't want to have to sacrifice to meet your needs. And here's what happens, because typically when you get into marriage, it's either wonderful or terrible. It really is. I mean, marriage is either the most wonderful thing in the world or the most terrible thing in the world. It just depends on if the spirit of self has died yet or not. And when Karen and I got married, we were miserable. And I played golf all the time, and I worked all the time, and when I came home, it was all about me and my needs, and I didn't care if Karen's needs were getting met, and she would constantly ask me if I would do certain things, and I just didn't want to. And I'd say no, but I wanted her to do the things that I wanted her to do. And the night that our marriage was healed, I told her to get out of the house. We had a big fight because I was so selfish. It was all about me. I was very dominant. And I dominated our home, and I dominated Karen. And I remember we fought, and I said, go in there and get out of the house and go back to your mom and dad. I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of your mouth and all that. Well, Karen went into the bedroom, and she was crying. And I remember sitting, I was a Christian, and I remember sitting there just thinking, how do you do this? How do you do this? I'm so tired of this. It's miserable. And that's when I died. That's the night I died. That's the night that the selfish, obnoxious, dominant, insensitive Jimmy finally died, and I walked into the bedroom. Karen was sobbing, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the way I've treated you. I'm sorry for what I've done, and I've been wrong. It's the first time I'd ever said I was wrong in all of our marriage and years of dating, because I was just such an idiot. And I went in there, and I apologized, and I said, I'm sorry for the way I've talked to you. And she said, Karen stopped me, and she said, the worst thing you've ever done is the way you've talked to me. It's the worst thing you've ever done. And I said, I'm sorry. And I know that you probably don't trust me anymore because of how many things I've done. But however long it takes, I'll prove to you that I've changed. And I did. I've never gone back. I've never gone back on my word. When I told her, now I've made mistakes, but when I told her that night that I had changed, that's when I died. And that's when our marriage started being wonderful. Marriage is brutal on selfish people. It's just brutal. But marriage is wonderful on people who have died to that spirit of self. Let me say this. The best marriage in the world is two servants in love. Servants live to please somebody else. Servants are sensitive because they love pleasing somebody else. And if you could meet each other's needs, you wouldn't get married. I told this story before in some of my seminars, and that is the picture of heaven and picture of hell. And the picture of heaven is everybody sitting at a banquet table and they're eating and enjoying everything they're eating. But the picture of hell is all the banquet table is there, but they have utensils on their hands that are too long to feed themselves. But in hell, everybody is so selfish that they starve to death before they'll feed somebody else. And when you get married, that's the perfect picture of marriage. There's a banquet table in front of you, and you have what your spouse needs. But if you could feed yourself, you wouldn't get married. But the secret of a happy marriage is looking at your spouse and saying, what are you hungry for? And they say, I'm hungry for this. Because you have it. As a man, you can meet her needs. As a woman, you can meet his needs. You have it. It's inside of you. You can't meet your own needs, but you can meet their needs. And the secret of marriage is focusing on them, taking what God has given you and feeding them. And the perfect marriage is two people, unselfish people, who love each other and accept each other and listen to each other, and you just spend the rest of your life feeding each other in this yummy, 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 oh boy, are you happy? Oh my gosh, they're just feeding me, my mama. But the worst marriages are two selfish people, and they have the utensils on, and they have what they need. Two people, they both have what they need, but they're both so selfish, or one of them is so selfish, that they won't focus on the other person. And I promise you this, marriage was designed to bless you and make you happy right after it kills you.